Welcome to War Table Printing and Painting. My name's Jay. I'm going to be painting the Ork Spanner from the Ork Ludas set. I've been wanting to do this set for a while, and I love putting a lot of work into the boss of a group of orcs, especially. The Ork Spanner looks really cool. He's got a pretty cool backpack, and I like his big giant melt-a-gun, or his mega gun. There's custom Mega Blaster. I think that's what it's called, a custom Mega Blaster. And they're great in battle as far as if they hit anything, which I know they only hit on 6s, but they do have a reroll on 1s. And they also have a special rule that if there's somebody next to an objective marker, I think within 9 inches, they get to reroll their shots, period, which is pretty spicy. So that means you could possibly get at least 2, maybe 3 hits if you're lucky. And if you're super lucky, you might roll all 6s, but that's not always happen. You can't count on that. But counting on 1 or 2 is pretty good, because if it hits anything, it's going to probably do a lot of damage. I think it does die 6 damage at least, maybe with a plus in there. I can't remember, but it's pretty good. So, especially if you got all the other Ludas with their big guns shooting too, you're going to probably hit with one of them guys out of the 5 shots. And they're all going to do some pretty decent damage. Hopefully you can, like I said, get a couple of them and really melt a vehicle, or maybe some Terminators or something like that. Now, putting together models isn't the most glamorous thing, but it is a huge part of the hobby. And cleaning mold lines is also a huge part of the hobby, especially with Games Workshop miniatures. With printed miniatures, it's not so bad. You can clean them pretty easy, actually, especially with a file set. Usually I use like a loose X-Acto blade or a set of files like these to clean the miniatures. I also use a file to rough up the areas that I want to glue together. Definitely want to rough them up really good and then smash them together if you want them to stick good. It helps a lot with that. And if you do that, usually that stuff will never come apart, because it leaves little bits of pieces that'll melt together when you do that, and that's what you want. Alright, you don't have to clean every piece completely good first. I try to clean them decent, like this little burr here. We'll knock that off with a file real quick. This is where files definitely excel. It's getting these like burrs off there and stuff like that. You just want to be careful so you don't go too far or too deep. You want to make sure that you're just getting the burr off there. You can always feel it and get a good idea if you got it all. Sometimes I'll leave even a little bit for later so that I can just do it with an X-Acto knife to clean it completely and get it nice and smooth. Now, next on this model, we're going to have to prime it up. And when I go to do that, I am going to use it's a Badger's line of primer. I think it's called, I can't remember the name of it exactly. I show it here. It's really good stuff. If I remember, I will link an affiliate link with some of it, because I do get it. Basically I buy it in bottles. It's a white, black, and gray set, and I think it's $12 maybe. And that stuff flows so good. It doesn't. I never need to put flow improver in there with it or anything. And I use a cheap airbrush, like a literally $15 airbrush kit I bought off Amazon. Also, I can link that one too if you guys want to try that. It works great for me. I usually mostly use it for priming, though. I don't do a lot of fine detail work with it, so you might want to get a better one for something like that. But if you're just doing primering, you don't need a really expensive airbrush, that's for sure. And I wouldn't recommend getting an expensive airbrush if you're just starting out, because you're probably going to mess it up. Or cleaning is essential. Like, you have to clean that airbrush really good every time. I recommend mostly investing in a good cleaning kit with a little cleaner that has the needle that can go in there and scrape out paint from the tip of that reservoir, because it's very tiny, and it's the only thing that can really clean that is something like that. You can get the brushes and they're alright, but that little needle tip that you can get with a scraper is really good. If I remember, I'll link that too. I'll link everything I can think of that it can help with this stuff. But definitely what you want to do is make sure you clean your airbrush every time. It's going to make your airbrush last for a long time. And if you ever airbrushing and it does clog up on you, all you really usually have to do is put your finger over the tip of the airbrush and then just run the air. It'll bubble up, so be careful. It could spit out some of the top. So you don't want it to do that. You'll want to stop before that happens. But just run it and then spray it. Now I did black, then white zenithal, and now I'm using some Army Painter green skin, because I'd never used this before and I've had it for a minute, and I just wanted to see how it would look as a base, and it did really well. Honestly, it worked really well. I like it a lot, so I might use it in the future for sure for some green skin stuff, but it worked well for this miniature. I definitely recommend those too, because I didn't need to do anything with that. It just worked right out of the bottle, and I hadn't even used it. I've had that bottle for at least a year, and it's spraying just fine. It didn't need anything done with it. It worked right out of the bottle perfectly. I always like that. So I'm getting all the pieces where there'll be any green skin, mostly right now. I'm not worrying too much about the weapon. The weapon's going to end up being mostly a metal color anyway, so I will do that then. I'll probably do like I usually do and paint it with some Grey Knight steel. I really like this. It's a great base color for metal, and I almost like it a lot better than Lead Belcher. Lead Belcher just doesn't seem to always cover the greatest. I do use some Lead Belcher here, that's funny, but I'm just using it on the boots here and maybe a little bit on that banner pole. Just go real easy with it. You know, you don't want to put too much on there. You're just trying to get enough to get those tips done. I'm gonna make them steel toe boots too, and also paint the chain with some. Just always go real easy, real slow. Take your time, because you don't want to get paint. Right now you don't have to worry too much about getting any of it on the green part, because there's going to be a lot more green shading going on. This is actually going to be a pretty long video. I'm going to probably split it up into a set of videos, because it is so much detail. Compared to the last video I did, it's probably going to be at least twice this long. So I'm going to cut this into 2 videos, so you'll have that to look forward to. So here we go with the Grey Knight steel. Like I said, this is a great base for pretty much anything metal. It's very bright and shiny, so I always usually use an all-in oil to shade it with, to knock it down a little bit, especially for the orcs. You can also use a little Agrax Earth shade in spots to give it a little bit of a grimy look here and there. But always paint, let stuff dry, move on to the next spot. If stuff doesn't look great on the first pass with the paint, I set that on plastic just so it doesn't stick or mess up the paint on it. I don't want it sticking to anything, like little pieces of stuff on my cutting board. There's always junk on there from just doing so many models. So I ended up putting some on the top of the pole here, because I really want this to stand out and look good. And you can see the difference between it and the Lead Belcher from his headpiece and the other stuff. It's a much more steely look, whereas the other one is more of a dirty metal look, I guess. But it all looks good in the end, especially once you shade everything and highlight it up. And that's the most important thing. And also, you know, make sure you enjoy yourself. If you're not enjoying yourself while you're painting, then you may not want to be doing this anymore. It's definitely something you gotta love doing, and I love doing it. So yeah, I did decide to change his headpiece to that too, just because I do like that color so much. It's much brighter, and it'll make it a little bit different than the chain and stuff, just to keep things a little different so it's not all the exact same color. It just always helps, I think, to vary things a little bit, especially if you have a lot of metal on something. You don't want it all looking exactly the same. It's just boring. You want to have a little bit of variety. And next, again, to vary up the color, again, some hash nut copper. And I really love this on orcs. It's a great color for orcs. So I'm going to do that ball on the top of this with some of that, just to give it that electrode look. His little greaves here, that'll set them out really good. Since it's like an orange, especially against the darker colors, it's going to pop and look really nice. And again, it's the top layer of stuff, so that's always good to do in a lighter color than the darker shoe in the background, which I'll probably do in like a gray. McCreggy blue is a great color to base blue with, so I'm going to use that for the pants, because they got to have their lucky blue jeans on. I always envision all these orcs wearing lucky blue jeans. It's just funny to me. I don't know. But yeah, they like lucky blue, so I think they'd be wearing lucky blue jeans. And it's a great color for their pants. I think it just works really well. And it covers so good. I love this stuff. It's a great color to start with when you're doing blue, especially. You want to just make sure you get everything nice and coated all the way around, even his butt. There you go. See that? Get every little spot you can nice and smooth. There we go. Looking good. See, it's nice and wet, but you don't want to keep working it. You want to let that sit and let that dry. Half the game is being patient and letting stuff sit and dry. If you can't let stuff sit and dry, then you're going to have problems. It's the first big rule you have to learn with painting miniatures, is to be patient. Let the paint dry, that first coat. Put it on thickish. You don't want it too thick, but you want it thickish, because that'll get you a better coat usually. But you don't want it too thick. Some stuff like this color here, the Ork green, it's not going to completely cover on. It's not made for that. It's a layer color, so it's made to show a little bit of what's underneath of it, and that's fine. You actually want that to happen a little bit. So just put it on there. It's going to look garbagey at first, but you let that sit and dry, and it's going to end up looking great once you go to do the next coats of paint. And we're going to be bringing up everything after we darken it. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of detail on the painting of this orc. Again, we're going with the orc green. Next coat, just to, well, actually it'd be technically the first coat of green. Even though it was based with some green, this will be our first coat of the base green for it, because we're not going with that other green was just a little bit of a base coat just to help getting the start of it. And since it is a little bit darker, that does help with the shading in the long run. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if any of this stuff has helped you in any way. Also, I will be doing the second part to this video next week. I already have it done. I just gotta cut it. So thanks again for watching. God bless and have a great day.